Welcome back, everyone, to the Ready Room. I am your host, Brittany McLean Campbell, and we are finally into World Cup swimming here in Toronto. It's all happening on home soil. I, for one, cannot wait, and I hope you're just as excited as I am. There have been world records falling every single stop so far, so the anticipation builds. Toronto, get ready. Before we get there, though, there's a conversation I've been excited to have since I started this show, The Ready Room. So, without further ado, today is the day that we're going to have a great conversation. My guest I'm really excited to talk to today is the National High Performance Director and Coach of Swimming Canada. Please welcome John Atkinson. John, how are you?
I'm great, and thank you for such a fantastic introduction. It's great to spend some time with you and have a conversation today. Thanks very much.
I'm so grateful for the time. One thing I wanted to start out with, because we were just chatting in the back end, that you actually were in this role when I was still swimming. So you've definitely kind of seen different generations of Canadian success and how we got here, which is part of what I wanted to pick your brain at. But before we dive into it, I just want a little bit more background about you. You joined Swimming Canada in 2013, and before that, you were on an 11-year journey with British Swimming. So what made you kind of bring your talents over to Canada?
Yeah, good question. I think when I've worked in British swimming in a number of different roles. First off, I was the national youth coach, and then I worked as director of world class programs, which was like being the assistant to the performance director in British swimming at that time, and then headed the Paralympic team into a home games in London. So I'd done 11 years in British swimming, and I wanted a new challenge and I wanted a new opportunity. And by some sort of luck, the opportunity in Canada was mentioned to me. And then I got the job and came over here. So it was a new chapter and something that I've really, really enjoyed. And there's been a lot of highs, not too many lows, but it certainly added into the mix to make it a really good journey.
Yeah, not a bad time to be joining the forces over here in Canada. But I do want to quickly touch on, you mentioned your time at the London 2012 Games. An opportunity to work in any capacity, a home Olympics and Paralympics is massive. And I wondered, like, what was the biggest lesson you learned in the build up to that you've kind of brought over to your work here?
I guess what changed when I remember the day that Britain was awarded the Olympics, and it was back in 2005, and I was about to take a junior team to the European Youth Olympics in my role at that point. And I think what the home games did was push Olympic and Paralympic sport to the position that it should be in every country. It was about knowing athletes, getting athletes' names out there, making athletes be able to fulfill their dreams at the Olympics and Paralympics in their home country. And I think that was such a changing moment for sport in Britain. And I really wish we could push that in Canada so that our athletes, Olympians and Paralympians, get the recognition that they rightly deserve for all the time and effort and sacrifice that they put into the sport. So I want to keep pushing that. That's what I want to keep pushing. How great Olympic and Paralympic sport is across our whole nation.
I love that. And as somebody here that, we started this show just to have more conversations around swimming. So I am with you on that. We need to continue to have their voices heard. So yeah, let's all do our part towards that. It's really great to hear from your perspective. I wondered, as the high performance director and national coach, I mean, you can read up all the bios that you want about what your job actually is, but I wondered if you could put into words yourself about how do you describe your role?
Well, interestingly enough, in 2016, I did a talk to Rowing Canada, and they invited me back this year and they asked me, what do you do now compared to what you did in 2016? And I think the role has evolved over, I'm going into my 13th year with the program. So the role's evolved, but I still think the main thing is to try and remove roadblocks for people. And if I can help a coach or an athlete in whatever way that might be better and improve, that's what the job's about. And I kind of describe it that I have to know a little bit about everything. and then I have the experts who can help pull the program together. But I kind of like almost the puppet master in a way, removing roadblocks and trying to let people do what they need to do, enabling them to swim fast.
I love that. I often say that my job is an athlete in NSO relations, and I always say across all our Olympic and Paralympic sports, I was like, I need to know a little bit about a lot of a little bit about a lot of things. But there's great people that know a lot of it about a little thing. So it
Absolutely.
is a very important part of the job. And with that, I wondered if you can put on kind of your almost your teacher's cap for a second and reflect back on this past year as if you're maybe grading an assignment in a sense. But you had a phenomenal year this year, 2024, 2025. Often after the Olympic and Paralympic cycle, we see a little bit of decline in results, but the Canadians were still there, ready to perform. McIntosh setting multiple world records. We saw incredible performances at Para Worlds as well. So, just in general, how do you reflect back on the last season of swimming for Canada?
Yeah, it's fantastic performances from our athletes on both the Olympic and Paralympic program, and they're the ones who deserve the plaudits. They're the ones who deserve the adulation about what they do and the performances that they get. And I kind of think back now on the last year that in about October last year, so October 2024, coming off the back of the Paris Olympics and Paralympics, we were getting ready for a World Short Course Championships in Budapest. And it kind of really started there. And the World 25-meter Championships have really evolved over the last, I would say, 6 or 7 years to be a really good, focused event for our country. People take it more seriously. And that was kind of a glance in the window a little bit to what was going to happen when we move forward this year to Singapore. And I think we ended up with about 15 medals in Budapest. Summer had a fantastic end of year. Mary Sophie was named Breakout Swimmer of the Year for World Aquatics. Elia was there racing. And then when you kind of fast forward that a little bit through to what happened over the last year, obviously Summer in Singapore went on to heights that no other female athlete has achieved at a World Long Course Championships. Elia made the podium. We had a relay team that did well. So a lot of the things, and Mary Sophie made her first podium in the World Long Course Championships. So people got going straight away. There was a lot of motivation still around from our athletes and from our coaches to help the athletes get forwards. And I think that was seen in Budapest, and then it kept rolling and into trials, into Singapore, Romania for the junior team for the World Juniors, and then obviously the World Para Swimming Championships also in Singapore. So it started back in October last year where we refocused towards Budapest, World Short Course, and then it went from there.
Yeah, and it has to start kind of the seasons are so many people ask me that are outside the swimming world, like, what's the swimming season? And I, share. Usually it starts around school year and then it wraps up the end
Yeah.
of at the end of August or middle of August. But then, Para Worlds were stretched until September, and then you have a World Cup in October. And I'm like, well, you know what? Swimming is a year-round sport. We got to kind of take it bit by bit. And I wanted to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It is that. No, I'm saying
Yeah.
it is exactly that. It's kind of, I think back 15 years ago, it used to be quite boxed in how it was going to work. But
Yeah.
we learned in the pandemic how to deal with different things.
Right.
And when events come up now, the whole way that we put our Swimming Canada season and calendar together is you start at the international level and then everything else slots into place around it. And we had a World Championships in Doha in February of 2024, which some athletes wanted to go to, some didn't. We had Pan Am Games in October 2023. So wherever they go, we have to adapt and get ready for it. Yeah.
We follow. Wherever they go, we will follow, we will support, we'll get excited, and they'll be breaking records. So it's all good stuff.
Absolutely.
I'm going to break down quickly the Olympic program and then the Paralympic program. Do you have one highlight when you look back on last year? What was your highlight when it comes to the Olympic program?
At the risk of, I don't want it to sound like we're a one swimmer program, but so Summer's achievements
Yeah.
were absolutely astonishing. To go 5 medals, 4 of them gold at a World Championships is really phenomenal. And whichever way you look at that, whichever way you want to split everything up, that deserves the absolute accolades that she gets from that. So I'd probably stick on that one, but knowing there are a lot of other athletes, some who didn't win medals, who
Yeah.
made such great strides forward. Blake Tierney, who I know
Yeah.
you had on the
I
show
was
not
just
that
about to
long
say
ago,
him. Oh my goodness, that was
you
phenomenal.
know, three 155s, 155, 101, or whatever it was at the end of the day. And what great progression. So there's a lot of things like that that happened and were new athletes and newer names that people are not so familiar with. But of course, the swimming choir are very familiar with these names. But that's what I'd say. I'd have to go with the 5 medals from Summer, but then 9 athletes in total won medals in Singapore because we had a relay that made the podium.
Yeah, and you mentioned Blake. I think another name, Ethan, like just dropping huge best times. Ethan Eck
Yeah,
at that level, like that's almost the takeaways that are going to go the farthest. The medals are what continues the program forward, and I'm assuming helps a lot with funding. But those are the performances when it comes to LA you can get really excited about. And I wanted to ask you on that note because it sometimes falls into the distance a little, but that relay medal extends Kylie Moss's streak since 2016 of being on international podiums every single year. Talk to me a bit what it's like in the team environment to have somebody that's been so successful for so long leading the way here.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of quite phenomenal what Kylie has done, and it doesn't get the kind of recognition I think that it kind of deserves. And it's actually, I think the first time I came across Kylie's name was to a Mexican youth festival in September of 2014, which was in Mexico City, where that was Kylie's first team. And then she won the World University Games 100 backstroke in 2015. So having somebody with those sort of attributes where there's no drama around Kylie, such a great person who comes in and gets on with what she needs to do. And sometimes it's you get out of the way of those sort of athletes.
Mhm.
Just let those athletes do what they need to do to feel comfortable and perform. And one of the swims, one of the things that sticks in my mind from Paris was Kylie's 200 backstroke.
Yeah, me too.
And the 100 hadn't gone where she wanted it to go. But then I remember because we were kind of in a dugout at the end of the pool with not a very good view. And there's this imagery on the big screen of everybody coming into the finish and a little tag, their first, their second, their third, like bronze. And
Yeah.
then she was fourth, and then it was, oh, and then she managed to get her hand on the wall. That was a swim that I think absolutely sums Kylie up.
Yep.
Never gives up,
Yep.
fights till the end, wants to perform to her absolute best all the time. And I can't give her enough kudos for what she does as an athlete and the impact that that has on the team and the sport thereafter. So there you go.
You put it so well. I agree. That was one of my highlights from Paris as well. That champion mentality, never count her out, and she performs when it matters most. The
Yeah,
consistency is unbelievable, and I think it's so important for younger athletes to have that look up to because Summer is an incredible feat of her own. But if it was just Summer, I think there wouldn't be nearly the opportunities to have somebody like Kylie to kind of guide the way. From I'm sure Kylie guided what now Summer is doing. So it's all kind of a chain of events, and you need those leaders like Kylie Moss. So, yeah, special shout out to Kylie.
yeah, absolutely. And kind of talking of Kylie, one of the things that I always kind of remember, and I don't even know if I've had the conversation with her about this or not, but when I worked within British swimming, a young lady who was on the British junior team at the European Junior Championships in Scotland in Glasgow in 2003 was Gemma Spofford.
Mhm.
And Gemma went on and made worlds and Olympic teams in British swimming, and in 2009 broke the world record in the 100 backstroke in Rome, and that kind of swim always stuck with me. Martin Wilby was our head coach in Budapest in 2017 at the World Championships and he was coaching with Florida when Gemma Spofford was there. And kind of a nice segue there, when Kylie broke the world record for the 100 backstroke in Budapest, it was Gemma's world record that she broke. So just that for me was kind of a real, I don't know, you like sometimes things just say it was in the stars and it was
circle.
all aligning for that moment. So
Yeah.
things like that I look at and they kind of, add special moments from what other people do.
Hopefully it was a little reminder that Canada has embraced you with open arms and we were
Something
officially
like that.
Yeah, something like that. I wanted to pivot quickly to the Paralympic program as well, because it was one
Sure.
of my highlights of the years. I spent most of September just really deep diving into the people on that roster, getting to know them better, highlighting the Para Worlds. What was your highlight? 12 medals. I do want to make sure I don't forget to say 12 medals won at the World Para Swimming Championships, 2 gold, 3 silver, and 7 bronze. What stood out to you about that team and their accomplishments?
I think they obviously, the para swimming program, there was a couple of the bigger names who weren't there this year for Canada, but that was planned. It was part of their plan that they wouldn't be there. So to get the performances that they got with new athletes coming through, making the podium, athletes who are of the age that they can be successful in LA and beyond, is really quite exciting. And when you add the experienced athletes back in that weren't there this year, you have a really strong group that can actually go on in LA and surpass what they got to in Paris. And I think that's kind of really, testament to the athletes. And also we have a new kind of look on the whole staffing structure of the para program as we're going forwards now, with Jocelyn Jay as the Associate Performance Director, Ryan Allen, who is the national coach, and then Haley, who's moving into the High Performance Centre Quebec. So really exciting with that group to work with them again over the next 3 years to LA and see what they can do.
Yeah, and it seems like Mary Gibb really proved that she is the future name to keep an eye out for. I mean, talk about time drops. It was so exciting to watch her win that gold in the 200 IM and then continue to win medals throughout the championships. It wasn't just one event. And both Kat Roxon and Aurélie Rivard shared with me that they get this special feeling from her that this might not be the only time we see her on the podium. So it's great to see.
Totally agree with you on that, and agree with Kat and with Aurélie.
Yes, exactly. It's so fun. Like, similar to the way Kylie has kind of really impacted this current generation of swimmers, I feel like those two are champions. And so it was so fun to watch them from the other side, although they both hope to be back in that position again soon. But it was really cool to put their analyst hats on and say, what do you actually think about all of this?
Yeah,
so
no.
It was so fun. I wanted to talk to you about development, because I know this is an area that is really important to you and you've really focused on since you've started, like you said, 12, 13 years in the job. I listened to a talk that you gave, and you mentioned as a sport organization, you have to be targeted in your approach to who you identify for investment and how you do so. So I want to know a little bit about when it comes to the junior program in general. What does that look like for you? What is that approach?
Yeah, so with the junior program, and kind of it's something, and I'm a Manchester United supporter, and we beat Liverpool yesterday, so I'm really happy now. Doesn't matter what happens for the rest of the season now, we have that win. But they had a manager, Alex Ferguson, and he was there for 25 years as the head coach of Manchester United Football Club, and he talked about bringing through new teams. He talked about bringing through different generations of athletes. And whenever he brought in a new player, they had to be better than the best in the squad that he had at that time. And that was his way of trying to create that successful generation after generation of teams at that club. And when he was there, they kind of invested in the youth program, the Manchester United Academy. And the generations of teams that came through always had the youth approach, but looking after your senior athletes as well. Of course, it's different when you're working with a national program in swimming. You kind of don't go out and buy an athlete.
Yeah.
You have to work and develop the athletes
Yeah.
with exposure to different parts of development, whether that be on a team, whether that be on a training camp, whether that be with a Ken McKinnon going into a club program and working with the coach and the athlete. But developing that next generation of athletes so that, right now in Canada, the catchword is next gen. So the next generation is really, really important, that there are opportunities, whether that's not necessarily always on the senior team, but when they make the senior team, they've had experience and exposure to be able to cope in that environment, and being able to kind of see the future almost as to who could make up a relay team, who might be the people that could be there. And it doesn't mean you're going to capture everybody, but it improves probability that you're going to work with the right athletes if you can think in that way. And that's kind of it's kind of the way that you have to bring them through, but support the athletes that are there as seniors as well. Yeah. And that's the balance, which, it's not easy, but if it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
Exactly. You did bring up the World Junior Swimming Championships that happened in Romania only a couple months ago, not even. And I wanted to, this question's a little tougher, but I, as an athlete, noticed, you look back on our last couple of years of World Junior Championships, the medal count was 15, 13, 12. And this year there was only one medal for Team Canada. And so by no means am I in panic mode, but I do want to ask you, what do you take of that and how do you move forward? Is this cause for concern or is this what you expected to see?
Yes and no. So kind of somebody in my position, you always want more than what you've got. So you always want to see athletes perform better. And I guess that's where you always have to kind of tap yourself on the shoulder and recognize it's the time to push or it's the time to hold back. Mm-hmm. And there's no written textbook of how you do that. Sometimes it's just a feel for what you see and have a conversation. And I always try to work to the point where if an athlete's not had a performance that they want to have, that's the time, pat them on the back, have a conversation. If an athlete has done really, really well, then I like to say, well, you know how you could have been even better. So there's kind of a little bit of that in me as to how I try to work. The junior team will fluctuate with performances because the most important part of the junior team is it's part of the journey. It's part of the pathway for gaining that experience and exposure to what an international competition looks like. And then when they make a senior team, they're better prepared because of the experience that they had on the junior team. So it's not just about the medals, but of course we'd like to see more. But if you dig down into it a little bit further, Oliver Dawson, who swam at the World Championships in Singapore, split 59 in that mixed medley relay, did a phenomenal job over there, went to the Junior Championships and got sick, so didn't swim to the best of his ability. Ethan Eck would have won at least, I think, 3 medals at the World Junior Championships had he gone. Mm-hmm. Couldn't make it work. He's off to university. So I know it's not because we don't, there are the athletes. Sometimes their paths to getting there don't all align, and they might be on a slightly different path to get to that end destination. When you look at the overall point score, we had a lot of finals, we had a lot of semi-finals. So I think when I focus on it's the experience that you get from being on the junior team, there were a lot of athletes that raced in semi-finals and finals will come out of that with experience that they now have to help them move on this next year, and maybe they'll make the Pan Pacs, maybe they'll go to junior Pan Pacs, and with that we could have probably 70 or 80 athletes that race again this year and are better for what happened in 2025.
It's great context, and I appreciate that, and good reminders as well. There's by no means are we closing that chapter with negative energy. So, with that, how do we find the next Summer Macintosh?
Well, I said this to some of our national coaches the other day. There is talent in every club, every single swimming club across Canada. And sometimes we have to look at where is the talent and what are they and what can they actually be good at.
Mhm.
So, your former club coach, Kevin Thorburn, produced many 400, 800-meter athletes. I just wish there was a few more clubs across Canada that were doing that as well.
Yeah.
So I don't think that we have a talent issue. It's one that can be addressed through coaches identifying events that athletes need to do.
Yeah.
But there is great talent in every club. Every time I go in to see a club program or a junior meet of whatever the level, I look at it and think Canada has really, really talented athletes who could be fabulous swimmers. We just have to help work with the coaches, with our coach education, so that our athletes get exposed to what they need to do. And I've seen some great photographs and kind of the influence that athletes have. And I can't actually recall some of them, but the one that sticks in my mind right now is a young Summer McIntosh having her photograph taken with a Penny Alexiak,
Mhm.
and the impact that that had. And the last time we had the World Cups, I remember there was 20, 30 kids all in the stands with things to get autographs on, whether it be a
Yeah.
kickboard or a program or a swim cap. Those moments that happen at meets like the World Cup can inspire the next generation to say, you know what, I want to be the next. And it might be the next Summer, the next Penny, the next Brittany, the next whatever it might be. And they're in every club. And as coaches and as people in swimming, we got to try and motivate those young people to stick the course and stay with it. And it's not going to be success tomorrow. It might be success in a year, 2, 3, 4 years' time.
And I think you bring up a good point about the World Cup because it sounds daunting to say that's how we find the next Summer Macintosh, but it is really true. It's as simple as somebody getting an autograph at a meet or watching. I used to say to every kid, instead of just watching with your coach if it's a high level meet that you just qualified for, maybe it's your first nationals and you're not in the mix yet, but I'm like, stand on the side of the pool and watch exactly them go back and forth and really absorb it, learn from it, get a feel for it. And that's exactly how you get there. And we're like you said, it's all already in place. It's just a matter of getting to that next step. And I do give a lot of kudos to the coaching program as well, because I've seen such incredible, grants coming out, women in coaching in Canada. And I think if there are coaches that want to learn to develop in this country, there's places for them to do that, which is great. So I wanted to ask you a bit about the path to LA, because I could sit and chat all about all of these things forever, but I do want to keep things moving. The path to LA is, well, we're already over a year into the next quad. We always speak in sport, especially Olympic and Paralympic sport, in 4-year terms. But I wanted to ask you a little bit about the road to LA. I loved a quote that you said in a previous interview. You said, change can be hard, but when there's no change, there's no growth. So what I challenge you with is, what are you changing on the road to LA?
Yeah, that's not a bad quote, that one. And also, I like to say, if you continue to always do the same that you have always done, you will get less.
Yeah.
And I think as our program has evolved, some athletes will come into different events and kind of pick and mix it a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And I'm absolutely fine with that. And I'm fine with wherever the athletes are and wherever they train. This year coming up in 2026, having Pan Pacs in LA and having Junior Pan Pacs in Vancouver means we're going to expose a lot of swimmers to racing in North America and racing for Canada in North America. And I kind of am really, really excited with that. And I think with that, we will expose more athletes to that national team environment and that motivation a few years before the Olympic trials. So we're 3 years out from the Olympics. Let's have a Californian experience this year with the Pan Pacs. And I think that in itself, in terms of what are we going to do differently, I'm not sure we're going to do too much too differently, but we're going to try and do it better.
Mhm.
And we're going to try and provide opportunities for the athletes to be exposed to different things. And then when the Olympic qualification pathway gets confirmed, there are going to be changes in that, and we'll have to adapt. So this year, World Cups, there are more athletes doing it. Next year, we will look to take a team, and in 2027, those World Cups might be part of the qualifying mechanism for the 50 fly back and breast
Wow.
when
Little
we find
teaser.
out exactly how that will work. So they're the kind of things a little bit different, but actually try and do things well and better so that we improve.
Yeah, I needed to ask you. I wanted to ask you about the 50s as well and development opportunities there. But before I do that, I do want to ask about this summer's focus because you look at the schedule. You have Commonwealth Games in Glasgow end of July, and then there's the Pan Pacs in California, as you mentioned. How are you splitting up the senior national team? Are the athletes going to get to choose? Is there going to be a priority based upon them, based on your interests? How's that going to look?
Okay, so when the Australians decided that they weren't going to run the Commonwealth Games in 2026, it kind of then has ended up in Glasgow. It's going to be a slightly different games. There's going to be half the number of sports. They'll be in hotels, not in a village.
Mhm.
So it will be different than kind of it has been before the Commonwealth Games. We had a restricted number of accreditations, and it was the athletes could choose, and that's absolutely fine whether they go to Commonwealth Games or whether they don't. So I think it's on Wednesday we have our selection committee meeting for Commonwealth Games. We'll have 6 men, 6 women that are put to the selection committee, and then they'll be nominated to Commonwealth Games Canada, and then we'll have 12 athletes that go. There's experience and youth.
Mhm.
And that's all I can say at this moment.
Okay.
But I think when people look at the team list when it comes out, oh, yeah, that's good. That's a good team. That will be a great opportunity for those athletes to go race at the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow.
Yeah. I
Then
can.
we cut, go on, sorry.
No, no, no. Continue.
And then we have obviously the trials in Montreal,
Yeah.
and we will come out of there and select our Pan Pacs team. And we've not had a Pan Pacs since 2018. So pandemic put pay to that.
Mhm.
But I remember, I think you were at the Pan Pacs
2014.
in
Yeah.
the in the torrential
Yes.
rainstorm that never
Yes.
stopped for 4 days on the Gold Coast in Australia. So I think you broke the Canadian record there in the 800 freestyle, if my memory serves me
I
correctly.
did. Great
So,
memory. I think the
so
1500 still stands from that one, and I
yeah,
don't know
I
how.
I think it does. I think it does. So having a Pan Pacs this next year, um, good number of people go. That'll be our focus meet.
Okay.
Put ourselves up against the US, the Aussies, and the Japanese, and really try and see how we can go. There will be a great kind of experience. And then we have I'll go straight from there. I'll go to Vancouver, and we'll have the Junior Pan Pacs. So then we'll have another 36 or so athletes that race there. So that's basically the summer. It's
Okay.
kind of in a nutshell, that's what it is. But it will be a lot of opportunities with a lot of athletes racing, and then that sets us up for 2027.
It does, and I think the West Coast racing opportunity, we take it a little for granted because, it's within North America. You think, well, we can adjust quickly, but I think that's gonna be really big to get that energy of California and a Pan Pacs and a big major
Yeah,
event going into LA. Very quickly, John, are you pro or against the addition of the 50s, the stroke 50s in the Olympic Games?
I'm actually pro, and
Okay.
people will probably say, "Oh, John's never really been a big supporter of 50s." No, it's nothing at all to do with that. I think 6 more medal events for our sport is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's the unintended consequences of that
Mhm.
that comes into play. So when you go to an Olympic Games, there are quotas on the total number of athletes that can race in an Olympics.
Mhm.
That used to be over 900. in the Olympic Games. That over the years has come down. So the total athlete quota, I believe, for LA will be 830 athletes, which is less than what it was in Paris. So this is why we kind of got to look at the detail for the Olympic qualification pathway and how athletes qualify for the 50 fly back breast. It might be different than the rest of the events, and they may use the World Cups at the end of 2027 to find automatic qualification routes for a smaller number of athletes in the 50 fly back and breast. So 6 more medal events. So when we got the 800 men, 1,500 women, totally supported it. Same for that. There's only the mixed freestyle relay now from the World Championship program that's not in the Olympics. But I think we have to keep a mind on, we would love more athletes to be able to go to the Olympic Games in swimming, and that overall quota comes down. So times tighten, and that's set by the IOC and World Aquatics, and we then adapt to it.
It is going to be quite the. I think we have to continue to evolve as a sport, and you know me, I'm the distance girl, so it's no. I'm not, lying. I'm not surprising anyone by saying that. At the beginning, I was trying to figure out, is stroke 50 is going to be the right move, but I think with getting the general audience excited about the sport, something fast, something intense, something you don't need a commercial break. My race needed a commercial break, so we'll work with that as we can. But I think it's going to be cool.
Yeah, and then when you look at somebody like Kylie, who's swimming the 50, there are other athletes that I know are on the comeback trail who some names will know that they're working towards the 50s. And then if you have Elia and Josh, we're certainly going to be in the hunt for those events as well.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait. Okay, before we let you go, we have a little fun concept we do around here called No Cap. So this is No Cap with John Atkinson, where I pull a question out of the cap. So we just asked for a raw and honest response. And what did I pull today? Okay, what is the most challenging part of your role?
Dealing with so many complex issues in the same day. No day is ever the same. So whether you're dealing with clicking a submit button on OTP funding submission, or talking to an athlete about a health issue, talking to a coach about a set that they're going to do tomorrow morning's training, and no day is ever the same. You have to work on the road. Mm-hmm. If you kind of always wanted to just work from an office, this is not the job. So the complexity of what you're dealing with on any one day is a challenge, but it's actually a good one.
It's great to hear. And I think everyone that is in your corner and in this circle and wanting to support Canadian swimming is up for that challenge as well. Before we let you go, I want to do a quick promo for the event this week. The World Cup is coming to Canada. I know you'll be there. I know I'll be there. We're going to be covering it all here at CBC Sports. So if you're not in Toronto and can't make it, we will have it all streamed. CBCsports.ca, CBC Gem. Starts Thursday, goes through Saturday. But those that are in Toronto, John, I'm going to give you an open mic. Why should they come out and support the best of the best in this sport?
Well, you want to see the best of the best, come to TPASC.
Yeah.
You're gonna see Canadian athletes go up against the best in the world and be successful. And when you look at the results from the first 2 legs, there have been some fantastic swimming. Elia has been rocking it. 200 fly broke the World Cup record in the last meet in Westmont. So come along. See him, see Josh, see Kylie, see an array of other great talents who will put it out there against the best in the world and show what Canada has and how great we can be.
And world records continue to fall, but a little swimming insider knowledge that in this format, technically the athletes are going to get faster and faster as the weeks go on. So we might be seeing even more records broken in Toronto. So I'm looking forward to it. John, it's been such a pleasure. And I cannot wait to maybe look up in the stands this weekend and see somebody that gets their first autograph signed by a major Canadian athlete. And maybe we're finding the next star for our program in the future. So I've loved this conversation. I'm really grateful for your time. And good luck this weekend to all athletes competing. Thanks, John.
It's great. Thanks very much. It's been a pleasure.
See you soon.
Bye.